from East Flat Rock, North Carolina, we welcome you to Faith in God Missions with the Reverend Steve and Frida Bishop. This program has been paid for by Faith in God Missions, a ministry working to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and preach the gospel in the United States and the foreign fields. Join us now as we worship the Lord together in word and song.
Egypt was once my home. I was a slave. Well, helpless in sin did roll blood like the grave. But when I looked up to heaven's door, Christ came to say, I'm living in Canaan now.
Living on Canaan's side.
Egypt behind,
Crossed over Jordan wide.
gladness to find.
My soul is satisfied.
No longer blind, living where Jesus up in Canaan right now. Satan may have you bound with fat and strong. Why don't you look up to higher ground? Will not belong to Christ the Savior. Your soul shall find. You'll sing this song. I'm living in Canaan now.
Living on Canaan's side.
Egypt behind,
Crossed over Jordan wide.
gladness to find.
My soul is satisfied.
No longer blind, living where Jesus up in Canaan right now. Why don't you stand up with me, sing that last verse. Satan may have you bound with fat and strong. Why don't you look up to higher ground? Will not belong to Christ the Savior. Your soul shall find. You'll sing this song. I'm living in Canaan. Oh yeah.
Living on Canaan's side.
Egypt behind,
Crossed over Jordan wide.
gladness to find.
My soul is satisfied.
No longer blind, living where Jesus up in Canaan right now. In the twinkling of an eye, gonna be gone, won't have time to say goodbye. Gonna be gone, could be while I'm singing this song. We're gonna be gone and it won't be long. We're gonna be gone, gonna be gone.
The world's not getting better every day. It's getting worse. So much violence is going on down here on earth. But I don't let it bother me 'cause I'm not here to stay. I know my Lord is coming soon. I'm on the way. I'm gonna be gone.
Gonna be gone in the twinkling of an eye. Gonna be gone, won't have time to say goodbye. Gonna be gone, could be while I'm singing this song. I'm gonna be gone and it won't be long. I'm gonna be gone, gonna be gone.
Could be just in the morning. Could be at night or noon. We don't know just when he's coming, but we know he's coming soon. I can say I'm sure until the world is not my home. One of these days he's gonna look at me, praise God, he's gonna be gone. I'm gonna be gone.
Gone in the twinkling of an eye. Gonna be gone, won't have time to say goodbye. Gonna be gone, could be while I'm singing this song. I'm gonna be gone and it won't be long. I'm gonna be gone, gonna be gone. Gonna be gone in the twinkling of an eye. Gonna be gone, won't have time to say goodbye. Gonna be gone, could be while I'm singing this song. I'm gonna be gone and it won't be long. I'm gonna be gone, gonna be gone. Crying holy unto the Lord. Crying holy unto the Lord. Well, if I could, I truly would stand and rock. Praise God for Moses stood. Lord, I ain't no sinner now. I've been introduced to the Father by the Son. Lord, I ain't no sinner now. I'm crying holy unto the Lord, yeah. Crying holy unto the Lord. Well, if I could, I surely would stand on that rock. Praise God where Moses stood. Well, Lord, I ain't no sinner now. No, Lord, I ain't no sinner now. Well, I don't allow no shouting around here. Oh, devil don't allow no shouting around here. Well, I don't care what the devil don't like, I'm gonna shout on anyhow. Devil don't allow no shouting around here. You better move. 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 And the Lord gets ready. It's ready. You gotta move. You gotta move. They put old Paul in the Roman jail. He did not weary, though his bells. But when the Lord got ready, he had to move, he had to move, he had to move. You better move, you better move, yeah. You better move, you better move. And when the Lord gets ready, you gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move. Well, some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away like a bird from prison bars and home. I'll fly away. Come on, help us sing it. Well, I'll fly away. Oh, that's it. Come on now. Fly away. Well, when I ride, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Well, the amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we know last day to see God's praise, and when we first begun.
Of course, one of our first brochures as we started on the road. This was inside of the bus. We had a gas furnace, we had roof air conditioner, refrigerator, we had a private bedroom for Frida, and we had a bathtub in it at this time, and this is the same bus that we run for some 15 years. This is one of the old trucks that we run across the road at that time. That was a 1956 tractor and trailer, and we run from south to north, east and west. We sung and preached and made altar services. We went into the prison and nursing homes and auditoriums, National Guard Armory, and we just ran a building and fire up a revival. Then later we traded the old Ford off and got us a GMC, and I painted it and overhauled the engine, and this is our trailer that we pull, Christ is the Answer, Lloyd and Laurie Morgan, and in Revival Crusades. This is the same bus. We painted it green, and we traveled all over the country from Miami through Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, up through Virginia, Pennsylvania. Met some of the greatest friends across the road. We had an office in the tractor and trailer and also a radio control room where we could make our tapes. We was on the radio 5 days a week, so we made our radio tapes and sent them right out from there. And this is how we done it. We put lights up on the outside, and when we had the meeting, we'd turn on 10,000 watts of lights shine up on the tent. A lot of hard work went into it. We put up the old tent. We saw many people saved and touched and delivered from all walks of life. This is one of our first vans. It pulled our travel trailer also, and it did a lot of work for us as we traveled across the country. Then Frida got married and to Steve Bishop, and Frida and Steve joined with us and kept traveling on the road. Another tent revival, we would go across the country holding revivals under tents in the summer and preaching in the churches in the winter. And it come time that I had to get along with God, get the message, get the mind of God to preach whatever message God gave me. Then we put a swimming pool up and have a baptism service. And here I think we baptized like 50-something people in one night that give their heart to the Lord. And we called the fire department. They'd come out and fill a baptism pool up with 5,500 gallons of water. We just pull the engine out and lay it on the back end of a pickup truck and completely overhaul it and go through it and put it back in and keep going. Then little Stephen come along and joined the group and started playing the drums for us. Then television come along and we built an open-air tabernacle and had camp meeting, let people come with their campers and park. And by this time, we was already in the mission work, traveling into Jamaica. There's really a story behind this here. This would have been 1970, and a lady run a stop sign, hit me, threw me out, rolled me under the car, paralyzed me from shoulder down. But God did the work and healed me, and we was back on the road. And it come time for us to build, so we just started building and asking God to help us. I get on the bulldozer and work on it and grade the stuff out and get the inside ready to pour. And had a good friend of mine that was in cement, and he'd help me pour the floors and put the cement down. We just did whatever we had to do to build up the kingdom of God and use it for His glory. These are some of the buildings we built years ago. They're still being used, and we thank God for them. Another service at the Army base, and boys that has went their limit, they're oppressed, they don't know what to do. There's a good time to represent Christ unto them and show them what God will do for them. This is our billboard signs that we put up for the camp meeting, and we ran it some 10, 12 years. These are precious people. That's my mother and father and my wife. And they really stuck with me during all this time. And they certainly loved Channel 16. They had watched 16. That was their church, and they really got a touch of God out of watching it. We was having camp meeting at the television studio and making our tapes and preaching the gospel. People seemed to really enjoy the services, and we enjoyed doing them for them. When people got right with God, it sure made a difference in their life. This is Frida, our daughter. She's been very faithful to the ministry and her husband, and we thank God for them. Some of the camp meetings we was privileged to preach for different locations across the country. Have a great revival in one city and then tear down the old tent. Take it to another city and set it up and start all over again. Never forget the expression of people when we baptize them, come forth out of the watery grave to serve God. We built fires and burned rock and roll records, and you name it, it was in that fire, people getting delivered and set free. What miracles we saw. She was a praying woman. She believed God for our ministry, and that's why one of the reasons we're here today. This is the only home we had, was the old bus and that trailer we'd live in and pull it across the country. And when we come home, we'd set it up and live in it. We weren't ashamed to put signs on our cars and run them for the glory of God. These are vehicles we use for God. Driving 10 states with a 16-pound hammer, preaching that night. Well, snow and ice didn't stop us. We've run those roads and didn't know whether we'd get across the mountain or not, but we kept going, and God was so gracious to us. When God spoke to my heart, I went out that morning, went to the junkyard and got an axle, put it together, put plywood in, got a sign painter, painted the sign on the trailer. I quit my job that day, and I went full-time right then for God. And from then till now, God has been good to me. Here a while back, somebody asked me, why do you do this? This is why I do it. because when we go and set up a crusade and then we see people come to the knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ, it's worth every dime. And that's the reason why that you go like you go, Brother Jimmy and Sister Joanne. We must build up the kingdom of God. It takes hard work. Who's willing to go? Jesus said, pray ye therefore the Lord of harvest will send laborers. There was never a city I went into and set up the old tent or rented auditorium, but what God did perform some kind of a miracle for somebody. He got delivered from alcohol and nicotine. How did you do it? It come through prayer and fasting and cried out unto God. When you cry out unto Him, then He gives the results. There's nothing good within man, but it's God all the way. And He's the one that will set each one free if you'll let Him. And this is where we've been since 1974. We come here, God spoke to my heart to come. And we've been here ever since. This is where we do all of our television, radio, and outreach for God right here. This is the back room of our television studio. We started our mission work in Jamaica, and from that it started working on out. When we get into the field there, we'd find them worshiping in a place like this called a church. And then sometimes we'd even have to ride a horse in to get to some of the places, sometimes a mule, sometimes a horse. And then we'd come to a place where they would actually be worshiping under a tree out in the open air. We'd work through ministers like this, take him accordion and go in and have an open air service. They needed a church here. We didn't have no money. We just asked God to help us, and it wasn't long until God would do the work. Nothing good of us. I'll show you a few homes that they live in just in a few moments. This is one of them right here. This is a home, neighbor. Some 10 people live inside here. Another home. Great man of God. We met there, and we had some marvelous services with him. This is our home in the background. Some places we went to, we just get in on a horse back up in the mountain. Right now, we got a man we buy beans and rice, and he goes in and gives it every week to these people. This is right on top of one of the mountains outside of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, back over toward Jack Mill, right up in one of the mountains that we was preaching the gospel to them. Took him a motorbike in. This is he and his wife took her sewing machine and made beds for their children, and they have a children's home there. We rode Air Florida in. When we got there, we headed to the mountain. Here's what we found: cold, hungry, naked, and they needed the gospel. The higher in the mountain, the better I like it. We found some of the most wonderful people up there. We just take an interpreter and start on a winding road like this here, dirt road, and we go as far as a Jeep would let us go, and then when we went that far, we get on a horse and go the rest of the way. This would be our pulpit, congregation. They get right with God, and we'd establish a little church there. Sometimes it'd be a wooden church, sometimes a cement block church. This is a salesman. She's selling pots and pans to them, carried on top of her head. They'd saddle me a horse, and we would head out. Sometimes we'd have to cut our lumber and haul it on a mule to get the lumber in to where we need to get to build the church there. Sometimes they go back as far as the old lots. One of the places we was at in Honduras still had wooden wheels. The old wagon, wooden wheels. They pull it with the ox. Actually tie their pig with a rope. I'd never seen that before. Great man of God. He is sleeping on the floor, on the ground, and the Lord helped us to get him a room. And great man. He preaches the gospel, takes his guitar, don't drive, goes back in those mountains, and he's just a mountaineer preacher claiming the promises of God. This is one of the churches we helped finished up. We preached in this church, and the pastor was a great man of God. We felt we wanted to help him, and he's doing a great work for God. Went into a city and gave a generator where they could light the whole city up. As Brother Steve Bishop, Lawrence Russell with me on that trip. This is outside Porter John in the back, you see. Also, she takes a bath in tubs or buckets, carries her water, and she's over 100 years old. She got baptized while we was down there. Brother Steve and I was handing out blankets here. Has a baptism service here in the United States. God's given us a great revival there. One of the churches we helped build back in the mountain of Mexico. One of the missionaries there we've worked with over 20 years. We built him a bus and give him the key to haul the tent and have tent revivals. That's inside the bus. Got a refrigerator, a bed, a stove, a restroom in the back, and a place to haul the tent and a generator. The government opened up some 10 acres, and there was over 10,000 families really squeezed in there. And we had the opportunity to go in first and put the first church here on this premises. And they didn't have nothing. They come in there with 5-gallon buckets, take out a little piece of land, dig them a hole for a porta john. This is an organ that's still being in use. They take care of it, they cover it, and it has been used ever since Channel 16 gave it to us, and we took it there. It's still in good shape, and every week souls are saved through the music, hearing the music of this organ. Here's the congregation here, the organ in operation. Seats over 1,500 people. One of the churches God helped us build there, still going for God, and we just thank God for it. One of the men we work with there, a missionary and my interpreter, and we put a lot of this on the internet and radio. Here's the results of the tent revivals that we hold. This is in Mexico. We fuel the bus up and clean the windshield and head back towards home, get ready to go again. The mayor of the city gave us permission to use the park there, and this is one of our street services. Hundreds of soldiers come to know the Lord right here in this spot.
I've been traveling for Jesus so much of my life. I've been traveling on land and on sea, but I'm counting on taking a trip to the sky. That will be the last move for me. When I move to the sky, up to heaven on high, what a wonderful trip that will be. Oh, I'm all ready to go, washed in Calvary's floor. That will be the last move for me. You know, my dad sung this years ago, and I was viewing a tape where he was on one of our programs a few days ago, and he said that the first time he sung this song in an illustrated message, 37 souls gave their heart to the Lord on one song. And after that, from a little boy on up, I heard my dad sing this song, When I Moved to the Sky. Then I had a young lady, very precious to our heart, 38 years old. We thought a lot of this lady, our niece, and she passed away. But before she passed away, a lot of times she'd sing this song. And I called her one day and she said, Uncle, you've made my day by just calling. And I was there with her, just right on up to almost right at the hour, the point of time. And I saw those eyes look up towards heaven and feel the angels walk into the room. And I was saying, oh, Patsy, what do you see right now? Because I know that she was moving. And I'm moving. And here I'm bothered. Just some time back we drove through, well, really over 4 feet of snow drifts. They'd cleared the road, and I looked out over that road pulling that travel trailer. I said, someday I'll never have to get out and freeze my fingers off and change tires and 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, raining, snow, ice. But I'm moving, and I won't need a suitcase. Here I'm bothered with packing each time that I move, and I carry a load in each hand. But not one thing will I need when I move to the sky. That's gonna be the last move that I will ever make. When I move to the sky, up to heaven on high, what a wonderful trip that will be. Oh, I'm all ready to go, washed in Calvary's floor. That will be the last move for me. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through me in angel toils and snares I have already come. Was grace that brought me.
Thank you for joining us today. This program has been paid for by Faith in God Missions of East Flat Rock, North Carolina, a ministry that's working in the United States and the foreign fields. Please send all correspondence to Faith in God Missions, Post Office Box G, East Flat Rock, North Carolina, 28726. Or visit us on the website at faithingodnc.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Faith in God Missions. Until next time, remember, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son.